And I believe somewhere in here, I could be wrong, if I remember right, there's cannon from the battlefield. Anyway, I was going on a spiel about, no, the Confederates did not win the war. They lost badly. They lost for reasons why, first off, they were supporting slavery. They were not in favor of freedom. They were an aristocratic society. They believed that people at the bottom should stay at the bottom, people at the top should stay at the top. And of course, you know, there was racism really badly in that mix. You know, if you weren't of the right race, then you should be a slave. And that's what they were fighting for. That was their lifestyle. They believed in extremely limited government, almost pretty much no government, except government by the aristocrats for the aristocrats. And for a lot of reasons, they lost the war. And one of those reasons is the selfish nature of their cause and the selfish nature of their ideas of government. So there's a lot of people who would like to rewrite history and believe that the Confederacy was a great lost cause and the Confederate government should come back and take over the United States government. These people are what we would call neo-Confederates. And in politics today, you're seeing a lot of that. The Republican Party has been taken over by a group who used to be called Dixiecrats, former Southern pro-Confederate Democrats. And they were trying to remodel the Republican Party. They are trying to remodel the Confederate or the U.S. government into their vision and the Republican Party and just take over. And so when you come into Missouri, a friend of mine has pointed out, you go visit Confederate battlefields and there doesn't seem to be a single battlefield that the Confederacy ever lost. Well, that's not true. They lost the war and they lost major battles. Their cause is dead and buried where it should be. And I don't like historical revisionism. But anyway, I'm bound to run into a Confederate ghost out here who strongly would disagree with me. Ha ha ha. I doubt it. Anyway, it's a very popular park in Kansas City. It's pretty much in the middle of town. And lots of people walk their dogs, walk their children. I think I might veer into the park a little bit over here. I can't remember if there were cannon or not. I might be confusing it with another battlefield that I visited in Missouri, down in Springfield, which actually was a Confederate victory, but very short-lived. Now, the history of the time was that when the issue of secession came along, Missouri was a slave state, but there were a lot of people who were not in support of the Confederate cause. They did not want to secede from the Union. This is pretty. There's a wedding or something going on here, wedding pictures. We'll leave them alone. Anyway, so the state legislature, which pretty much represented the voices of the people of Missouri, met and were strongly against joining the Confederacy. Well, the governor had other ideas, and he tried to take the Missouri out of the Union by force. And he was driven from the state capital in Jefferson City. And Missouri turned into a battlefield basically of irregular forces, not of major armies of gray and blue, because the Union quickly came in and took hold of Missouri. And a lot of people who lived in Missouri felt like that was an invasion and joined guerrilla forces known as bushwhackers. And they fought mostly by ambush. Well, they won a few battles, but overall lost everything. And they kept trying to come back and come back. There was an incident where here in Kansas City, they locked up family members, the Union Army did, locked up family members of these bushwhackers and put them in a prison here in Kansas City. Well, the prison was very poorly built. It collapsed, killed a few of the family members, incensed the guerrillas, and they went on the attack under William Quantrill and attacked Lawrence, Kansas, the heart of the Free State forces in Kansas, pro-Union stronghold. They burned Lawrence to the ground, killed 150 young men and boys, and set the whole area on fire, literally, because the Union came in immediately and forced everybody out of their houses and burned all their houses to the ground, which was a sad part of that history. And so a year later, in 1864, the Confederates tried once more. They came up out of Arkansas under, I believe it was General Sterling Price, St. Louis. Well, St. Louis was a huge Union stronghold. And so they kept going further west, further west, further west. And eventually they settled on Westport, which was then what is now Kansas City. And by then they were just going to make a stand, steal some things, bring it back south to the Confederacy. And, well, battle didn't go well for them. As a matter of fact, the reason they call it the Gettysburg of the West is because afterward, my camera stopped again. Anyway, afterwards, they call this the Gettysburg of the West because after the Confederates lost badly here, they were no longer a force to be reckoned with. Matter of fact, everything west of the Mississippi River, this was pretty much their last stand. And so essentially, hooray, the good guys won. And it happened right here. Lewis Park, Westport, Warnell Road. Come on, doggies, come on. Come on. And so, at the anniversary of the battle every year, in October, fittingly, they say you can see ghosts of the soldiers and, you know, the people walking around. We're going to try and walk south to the John Warnell house, whom Warnell Road is named after. And I guess it was a hospital during the battle, and maybe, I don't know, headquarters. And they say the house is really haunted. Yeah, kids looking at the dogs. Oops, which I can't. The dogs who've been acting up to this walk. Come on, doggy. Well, Jimmy, you do that to yourself. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. If you can just lift your leg, Jimmy, you'll get that over with. And stop trying to spin around me. But anyway, yeah, it's hard for me to do this and that. Well, it's not really hard. It's just, today it seems to be hard. There we go. Got it out. Whew. And my arm's getting sore. You should see this ridiculous rig I have. It's got 2 cameras on it. No, we're not chasing a squirrel, Jimmy. So I did my spiel about Confederacy, enough to get me haunted by at least some Confederate ghosts. Back then, I'm not trying to be an apologist for either side. Back then, there were a lot of passions run really high. A lot of people did some bad things on the pro-union side. Let's just say you wouldn't want it to be in Missouri in the 1860s. It was one of the most fought over states. And another really badly fought over state was Tennessee. Tennessee did leave the Union and join the Confederacy. It doesn't mean that doesn't mean that all Tennesseans were in favor of that. As a matter of fact, the state was kind of divided in half. And just as many people joined the Union, Union Army from Tennessee as they did Confederate. And it literally was brother versus brother in that state. This is really a big park. We're gonna cruise on back by the car and then head south and then come back. Whew. I just ate dinner too, so I'm full. I don't know if you can hear, like, my stomach is like sloshing around. It's kind of like that saying, don't swim after you eat. I guess don't walk after you eat. But man, look how pretty this park is. It's beautiful. I don't think this park, I don't know, I have to look up the history of this park, but I don't think it was set up here to be a memorial to the battle or anything. Passion still ran high. I guess in the past I've talked about videos where in my videos about how Harry Truman's president of the United States, his mother was a pro-Confederate, pro-Southerner. And when he became a captain in the Army, the U.S. Army, in World War I, he rode up to the farmhouse where he lived with his mom, and he was wearing the dress uniform of the United States Army, which, you know, essentially was the Union Army. Well, the dress uniform, still to this day, if you look at it, is a blue uniform. Matter of fact, if you see soldiers wearing what they call their dress blues, which is their very formal uniform, it looks like they stepped right off a Civil War battlefield in many ways. I mean, there's a lot of differences, different material, different everything, but, and so he was riding a horse wearing the uniform. Well, you know, the last time she saw that kind of thing was during the Civil War, when men wearing blue uniforms like that came to her house to burn her out of her house and home, her family members. I believe she may have been a child when that happened. And so she told Harry Truman to get off his horse, get out of that uniform, and don't ever come on her property wearing that uniform ever again. Which is a funny story. Whew. I know, Jimmy. You want nothing better than to go chase after those squirrels, dogs, children, whatever. Maybe I'm just imagining the cannons. I haven't seen one yet. Maybe I'm thinking of Springfield. There are other areas in Kansas City where there's battle memorial signs and sites. Oh, I did not imagine them. Right around the corner, here they are. But there are areas where there were cannons, and because this battle was actually fought over a wide area, and it was a pretty active, moving battle, although the numbers of soldiers involved in it were not overwhelming. It wasn't really a big battle, which is why most people don't think much of it, but it was a significant battle. Oh, if my audio was popping, it's because my transmitter popped out of my pocket while I was walking. And here we go. Cannons. Let's try cannon. So yeah, if you think I'm making this up, which I'm not, here's proof right here. I believe this would be a Confederate battery, or marking a position of a Confederate battery. And here's all sorts of signs. North scores key victories. Yeah, here's everything it talks about it. October 21st, 1864. Battle of Westport. 10-pounder Parrot gun. Which, when we look inside the barrel, which is not capped, there's no rifling. So it probably means it's a smoothbore weapon. Not as much range. A lot of cannons were smoothbore. My camera stopped again. And Battle of Westport. You are here. General Sterling Price's Army of Missouri, Confederate, versus General Curtis's Army of the Border, Union. All right, there's our battle, our cannon. Oh, I'm turning my light on, which is probably on bright. Whoops. It's really bright. There we go. Because I am dark. We're losing light really quick. Let's just say, not only was it a victory for the Union, it was a bad defeat for the Confederacy. They If you read diary reports and everything, it was horrible for them. They were trying to steal as much as they could on their way south and to give to the Confederate cause. Their wagon train slowed them down. They were attacked at every turn. Most soldiers that weren't hurt or killed deserted. By the time they got back to the border of Arkansas, there wasn't an Army of Missouri anymore, a Confederate Army of Missouri. And so, yeah, it all happened here. And to try and understand America, you can try and understand our history a little bit. And there are echoes of those events from 150 years ago still unfolding today, even in the current election that's happening. And I don't know, a lot of historians, people who are into history, people who've studied history, have a very keen focus of attention on what's going on right now, because they're morons talking about they want to start a second American Civil War. Technically, these morons need to know that would be the third American Civil War. American Revolution being the first, the war between the states being the second, and then whatever these yahoos would come up with next would be the third. And this time it's interesting. The new component of it is back in the 1860s, there were a lot of foreign powers that were like, yeah, should we support the Confederacy and weaken the United States? And then we have two feuding countries, and both of them would be weaker and we would be in a stronger position in the Western Hemisphere, or should we not? Ultimately, they decided not. And the funny thing is, one of the big reasons why is no foreign power wanted to support a country that was fighting for slavery. And so, let me point this way. It was much more beautiful. So, this time around, there's definitely some foreign fingerprints all over this. Even recent headlines talking about how it would be nice to spark seeds of doubt and the civil war in this country. You know, people to start casting doubts. No, Jimmy, you're not chasing that squirrel. About this country and our democracy. And there are, of course, people who seem to be falling for it hook, line, and sinker. And I don't know, maybe they just have romantic notions, or they're just so filled with spite, can't share the earth with people of other cultures or other ideas. And I don't know, maybe if I see a ghost, we could talk about it. Actually, I don't believe ghosts are like that at all. If, you know, one of the theories about ghosts is that they're just projections of what has happened in the past, like leftover electromagnetic energy that is recorded in the surroundings during times of high emotional, I don't know, trauma, duress, whatever. And if you're sensitive to it, maybe in your mind you can play back the recordings. You'll be sensitive to the electromagnetic spectrum, and actually play it back, and if that theory is true, then you probably would not be able to see it or hear it on any recording device, because it would actually be kind of happening inside our minds. That's why some people might be able to see something and react to it, and other people would be like, I don't see a thing. Well, I see beauty over here, and I remember this park, so let's go over here. Let's go into the park. And Stella, stop wrapping around me. I mean, kind of on a mission to return Jimmy's jacket since he's not wearing it and I'm carrying it. I got enough with 2 dogs and 2 cameras. Coming at it from a funky angle. Yeah, let's see. Hopefully this isn't a tall wall I'm seeing over here. Ah, beauty. Beauty. If I don't see a ghost, at least I'm seeing some beauty. Let's go around this way, dogs. Come on. Come on. I don't know, my rig is actually kind of working. I sort of like this. It is a little more ungainly, draws attention to me. I don't like that. Let me point over here. Come on, dogs. Hello. A lot of people have gone home. It's not the most beautiful evening. It's cold, it's gray, it's fall in Missouri. But yeah, this is a very beautiful park. Let's kind of walk this way. I'm confusing the donkeys. There's an island. It looks like, I don't know if you can see with that camera, a blue heron on that island. And I think my one thing I don't like, I think my gimbal is on a tilt lock. Yes, I was right. It took itself off of follow, which is my favorite mode. Now it's on follow. I can point down. It was on tilt lock, which I probably should have left it on there. Probably makes everything smoother. But I couldn't see the dongies. Right, dongs? The other camera, of course, is my Osmo Action, which is just like a GoPro, but much better. I hate GoPros. Tell us how you really feel. I hate GoPros. And we're almost back to the car, I think. Maybe not. Lots of squirrels. I don't know. I'd like to walk across that bridge, but I don't think it goes all the way through it. I think it just goes out on a little, maybe. I can't see from here. We'll try it. Some beautiful big houses around here too. But the car is this way. Ducks. No, Jimmy, we're not chasing after the ducks. You notice I'm always correcting a certain dog. Stella has her own issues too. Jimmy's just a rambunctious boy. He's a lot like the boys we were raising. But the thing is about losing the light is that this Osmo Pocket, the mini gimbal camera, does not work very well in low light. So I'm making sure Stella's jacket is staying on her, because Jimmy sure isn't. I seem to remember wrongly, apparently, that there was more cannon than that in Loose Park, but I don't know. If I had more time, and I probably should have done this before I began, at least doing a little reading up on it, but it's more fun this way. Be a little less prepared and discover things. I'm not by any means an expert. I do have my opinions. Hopefully they're somewhat informed opinions, but they're my opinions. Fodder for discussion. But yeah, if I had more time, I'd stop and read all these signs. We'll learn a little something. Well, that's fodder for discussion too. Come to Kansas City, come to Loose Park, read about the Civil War battle that was fought here. All right, back at the car. Some infrastructure here. Jacob L. Luce Memorial Park. Now maybe I can concentrate a little on my camera. You know, I don't have 3 hands full with only 2 hands. And let's see who Jacob L. Luce was. Well, I don't know. She had a husband or a wife named Ella Clark Luce, who seemed to love her husband. This is the way they used to make parks. Stone walls and permanent structures. I don't know. Oh, it's a bunch of pumpkins there. All right, before our batteries die, let's see if we can walk a couple blocks south to the Warnell house. And I believe Warnell was one of the people who had a lot to do with Westport, and he owned a business there. And another was members of the Boone family. And if you're wondering why that name's familiar, they're related to Daniel Boone. The Boones came out here to Missouri before Missouri was even a state, when it was a territory, and had a lot to do with blazing trails and establishing trade routes. And so Westport was here first, and it was a place where businessmen who were trading with Mexico on the Santa Fe Trail would outfit their wagons and head southwest. Hence the name Westport. I mean, there's no ocean anywhere near here, but there was an ocean of prairie grass, and so they considered Westport to be like a port. And the name prairie schooners came into being, meaning, the covered wagons that went through the sea of prairie grass west of here. The country looked entirely different than it does now. The French and the Osage. Oh, this is a Chouteau Society historical marker. The other side is actually written in French. Yep, the French were here first. They traded with the indigenous people of the area, the Osage Indians. My high school, which is in the eastern part of the metro area, it's called Fort Osage High School, named after a federal fort. Excuse me. Sorry, didn't mean to upset you. Federal Fort Osage, which was a trading post on the eastern part of Jackson County, the county which Kansas City is situated in. Jackson County is named after President Andrew Jackson, who didn't have a very good history with Native Americans. And now there's a move on, kind of an outgrowth of the Black Lives Matter movement, to take down all the statues of people like Andrew Jackson. I don't know how I feel about that. It's part of history. I don't know, maybe we're going to rename Jackson County? Perhaps. I'm kind of pointing the camera the wrong way. The beauty's that way. And, looking at me, I'm not the beauty by far. I don't know how far south we're going here. I didn't observe as I was driving this earlier today. We'll see. I've been in this house, this museum. I believe I've actually seen something in an antique mirror, which may have been cracks in the mirror. But I didn't see it. I was shooting it with a camera, and then I looked at it later, and I saw the face of what looked like a woman wearing black in the mirror. So, and of course, it was a story for one of the local TV stations here I used to work for on haunted houses. They're having, I guess they do this every year, haunted tour of the Warnell House Museum, but they're not doing this year, I don't think, because of the beer flu situation. Oop. Come on, dogs. Jimmy, don't run out in the road. I don't know who taught you that, but it wasn't me. All right. Whew. Definitely getting our exercise, which is a great thing. You know, I've got this light, which is a Luma Cube, turned down to its lowest setting. Oh, tour stop 7. McGee's charge. Yeah, McGee was a Confederate. Anyway, I was talking about my Luma Cube. This light is really bright. And as it gets darker, it gets harder for me to see. And so, I should probably get a more dimmable light. I'm looking. Among the many million other things, toys that I'm looking for. I'm also looking to see where this house might be. Phew. People look at me funny. They're not used to seeing somebody shooting a camera at themselves. I mean, people are getting more and more used to people with cell phones, but not this rig. Walking and talking to themselves. Well, and of course they can't see, except I can see I'm going into tree branches. Nope, dogs. Jimmy, stop it. Jimmy. That's not what we do when we see a dog. Whew. And I apologize if my front-facing camera is going all over the place. Not really pointing necessarily at what I should be pointing at. Come on. Still a lot of people. Well, it's Saturday night. I was gonna say there's still a lot of people around. I'm still very, very shy and don't like to talk when other people are around. I think people are getting more and more used to seeing that. All right, we're heading down Warnell. Excuse me. I think I made a good choice in how I oriented my cameras. I like that wide angle on this action pointed at me, so I don't have to concentrate so much on staying in frame, even though the Osmo Pocket has a follow function. with all the movement I've been doing, the tracking would